sulfide, and sulfate ion. Each ion may be used once, more than once, or not at all. State which ion gives the lilac color. So which one will give a lilac color? That's potassium. Forms a gray-green precipitate with aqueous ammonia. So gray-green precipitate, that's a chromium ion. Forms a white precipitate with sodium hydroxide. White PPT with sodium hydroxide. So calcium ion gives white PPT. Forms a cream precipitate with acidified silver nitrate. So cream color precipitate are due to bromide. If it was white precipitate with silver nitrate, then it will be chloride, and yellow precipitate, it will be iodide. And forms a white PPT, white precipitate, with acidified barium nitrate. So acidified barium nitrate, sulfate ions give the white PPT. The next part, describe how to do a flame test on a sample of a salt. So how we carry out a flame test, a simple, what we'll do, we'll take a nichrome wire and we'll dip in concentrated HCl. Then we'll take a sample. Yeah, so take a nichrome wire dipped in HCl. This last question is having different, like this test for the flame test lilac, so it means it is from periodic table. This is acid, alkali, and salt identification, because when you add aqueous ammonia, give a gray-green precipitate. So this part is actually salt identification, the test for the ions. So we will use a nichrome wire dipped in concentrated HCl, then take a sample and position above the Bunsen burner or hottest part of the flame, and we'll observe the color. Magnesium phosphate contain magnesium ion and phosphate ion. Reduce the formula. So how we work out the formula for the ionic compound? Magnesium is 2 plus or plus 2, and phosphate is PO4 with a charge -3. So when two valencies are not same, we first simplify and then we cross multiply. So it will be Mg3PO4 in a bracket 3. Mg3PO4 in a bracket 2. Sulfur exists as a number of different isotopes. What is meant by the term isotopes? How we define isotopes? The definition: so they have same atomic number but different atomic mass, or same number of proton but different neutron. When you compare proton, you compare with neutron. When you compare atomic number, you'll compare with nucleon number or atomic mass. Atoms of element having same number of proton and different number of neutrons. Sulfide ion has a symbol as shown. How many neutrons are there? So there will be 18 neutrons, because when you subtract to find the number of neutrons, 13 minus 16, so that will be equal to 18. How is sulfide ion formed? From a sulfur atom. So how this ion with a charge 2 minus is formed? By gaining 2 electrons. Because charge is -2, so it is gaining electron, and because it's minus, charge is negative, means gain electron, and 2 means it is gaining 2 electron. In the question they ask, how is sulfide ion formed from sulfur atom? So you have sulfur atom. Sulfur atom is like 16 and 32. How this sulfur atom changes to sulfide ion? So how it changes to sulfide ion? By gaining 2 electrons. Which element forms an ion with 2 charge and has the same number of electrons as sulfur? So how many electrons are there in sulfur? Because it's 16 minus 2 extra electrons, so there are 18 electrons. So there are 18 electrons in sulfur ion. We want to identify which ion with the charge 2 plus will have 18 electrons. So when you write, if you are saying magnesium, so magnesium is 12, atomic number 12, but magnesium plus 2 means it will have 10 electrons. When you write about calcium, calcium is 20 and 40, but calcium plus 2 will have 18 electrons. That's why the correct answer is calcium. Calcium forms an ion with a charge 2 plus and it belongs to group 2, and it has the same number of electrons as sulfide ion, which is minus 2. In the next question, manufacture of sulfuric acid by a contact process occur in 4 stages. First, a molten sulfur is burned in air to produce sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide is reacted with oxygen to form sulfur trioxide. Sulfur trioxide combined with concentrated sulfuric acid to form oleum, and oleum is diluted with water to form sulfuric acid. Complete the chemical equation for stage 1 by adding an appropriate state symbol. You can use the screen annotation to just complete the state symbol. Here they mention a molten sulfur. A molten sulfur, so means that will be in liquid. So liquid, gas, and gas. Name the catalyst used for stage 2. So which catalyst is used? Vanadium pentoxide. Means V2O5. The temperature, what is the temperature used for this reaction? It's 450 degrees centigrade. So you have to learn these reaction, memorize these reaction conditions. Write a chemical equation for stage 3 and stage 4. Stage 3, sulfur trioxide combined with sulfuric acid to form oleum. So sulfur trioxide mixed with sulfuric acid to form oleum. That's stage 3. And stage 4, oleum is diluted to form sulfuric acid. What is the equation for stage 4? The dilution of the oleum. So H2S2O7 plus H2O gives to H2SO4. So it gives a sulfuric acid molecule which we add, and it also gives the one which is produced. That's why it is 2 molecules of sulfuric acid. Sulfur dioxide is a toxic gas. State 1 environmental reason why sulfur dioxide should not be released into the atmosphere. So it can cause an acid rain. Then describe a test for sulfur dioxide. How we test and what is the observation? Potassium manganate 7, acidified potassium manganate 7. And what is the observation? It will change from purple to colorless. This is a test for sulfur dioxide. Yeah, KMnO4, that's the chemical formula for potassium manganate 7. Sulfur dioxide reacted with sodium sulfide to produce a compound which is having a following composition. So sodium, this compound contains sodium, it contains sulfur, and it contains oxygen. The compound contains 29.1% sodium, 40.5% sulfur, and 30.4% oxygen. The total sum should be 100. So when you add them, it will be 100. First step, divide by atomic mass. So for atomic mass for sodium is 23. What's the answer? 29 divided by 1.2. 40.5 divided by sulfur, 32. 1.2 as well. And oxygen divided by 16, 30.4 divided by 16, 1.9. Then divide by smallest value is 1.2, 1.2 and 1.2. This will be 1, this will be 1. What about 1.9 divided by 1.2? That's equal to 1.5. So whenever one of the values 0.5, what we'll do? We'll multiply all of them by 2. So this will become 2, 2, and this will be 3. So the empirical formula, it contains 2 sodium, N2, S2 and O3. So basically it's a formula of sodium thiosulfate. When it is 1.5, 2.5, if you try to round off, in this case it will completely change the ratio, because if I say ratio 1, 1 and 2 is totally different from a ratio 1, 1 and 1.5. You will only round out in a condition when the ratio does not change. Like if it was 1.9, then you round it off to 2. You can round off, but when you round off, keep in mind the ratio should not change between the simplest ratio should not change between the atoms present in the molecule. This question is about metal and metal oxide. Most metals have high melting point. Suggest other physical property that all metals have. So physical properties which all metals can conduct heat, conduct electricity, they are malleable. Not all the metals are hard, because like example group 1 metals, they are soft metals, they can be cut by a knife. So you have to mention one physical property that all metals have. Iron often rusts. Name 2 substances other than iron that must be present for iron to rust. So there should be water and oxygen. For rusting to occur. Iron can be obtained by heating iron 3 oxide with zinc powder, because zinc is more reactive. So zinc can displace this iron. What can we deduce about the reactivity of the zinc from this reaction? So we can say zinc is more reactive than iron, because it is able to displace iron from its compound. The Ionic equation for the reaction is shown. Identify oxidizing agent or reducing. First thing, before identifying oxidizing or reducing agent, they are asking. First thing, we'll identify which one oxidation happen and for which one reduction. So when you check iron, iron 3 becomes 0. So that is, if iron 3 becomes 0, that is reduction. And for substance which reduction happens, that is acting like an oxidizing agent. And for zinc, 0 become +2, so increase in oxidation number. So this is oxidation, or zinc is acting like a reducing agent. So which substance is the oxidizing agent, or which substance reduction? Iron is +3 here, and it become iron 0. So when +3 becomes 0, it means the charge on the element decreases. When the charge on the element decreases, we call that change as a reduction. And for substance which reduction happen, that substance is called or known as oxidizing agent. And for zinc, it is 0, it become +2, so there is an increase in charge, so we call that change as oxidation. And as this oxidation happen, so zinc is acting like a reducing agent or reductant. So in the question they're asking, identify a substance which is oxidizing agent. So oxidizing agent is iron 3 ion. And what is the reason? Basically the definition of oxidizing agent and reduction is same, because it gain electron. So when the substance gain electron, we call reduction, or that substance is known as oxidizing agent. So definition of reduction is same as oxidizing agent. Zinc is amphoteric. Amphoteric means can react with both acid and alkali. Describe two simple experiments to show zinc oxide is amphoteric. Name the reagent, the chemical which you use, and describe the observation. So the first reagent can be acid, the other reagent will be an alkali. So we will add example hydrochloric acid. And what we will observe? We will observe it will react and dissolve. And then what we can do, second reagent, we will add alkali. You can mention named alkali like sodium hydroxide, because you have to name the reagent. So sodium hydroxide. And what is the observation? It will react and dissolve. So amphoteric oxide can react with both acid and alkali. So zinc oxide is an amphoteric oxide. If we add an acid like HCl, or we add sodium hydroxide, it will react with both. Zinc oxide is a solid, but it reacts with both, and as a result it will dissolve. Here the dissolving is a reaction, but normally like when salt is added to water, it is a physical change. But here the chemical reaction caused this dissolving. Insoluble salts can be made by precipitation reaction. A student mix some soluble salts. Insoluble salts can be made by precipitation. A student mix some soluble salt. The table is there, like mixing sodium iodide with cobalt nitrate. Sodium with cobalt, all nitrates are soluble, so he's mixing different combination. All sodium salts are soluble in water. Use only one result from a table to answer the following question. Name an insoluble cobalt salt. Which salt is insoluble? So when cobalt nitrate mixed with sodium carbonate, so it will form cobalt carbonate, and the cobalt carbonate will be insoluble. Then an insoluble yellow lead salt. Insoluble yellow lead salt. So that is lead iodide, because lead will mix with iodine. As a result, it will form lead iodide. Write a chemical equation for reaction in which silver carbonate is formed. So reaction which forms silver carbonate. So silver carbonate is basically silver nitrate. Silver nitrate is mixed with sodium carbonate. So it will form silver carbonate. So what will be the equation? The full equation. In the question, they ask insoluble yellow lead salt. Lead sulfate is white. They're asking for yellow lead salt. So sodium carbonate mixed with silver nitrate gives silver carbonate and sodium nitrate. But when you're writing a product, it should be correct order in and balanced one. First example, if we mix silver nitrate, which is AgNO3, mixed with sodium carbonate, the correct formula should be there. So silver is +1 and carbonate is 2. So silver carbonate formula will be Ag2CO3 plus sodium nitrate. And then you have to balance this equation. How to balance this equation? 2 silver, so it will be 2, and 2 sodium and nitrate. So the equation is balanced in terms of all the reactants. The order is not an issue. You can write sodium nitrate first and silver carbonate second, or other way around. Then write an ionic equation for lead to iodide, how it is formed. The formation of lead to iodide, basically the ionic precipitation, as you can see, lead iodide or lead to iodide is a solid. So what are the, if I want to write an ionic equation, I can just identify what ion should be there. There should be a lead ion, which is +2, and there should be iodide ion. And how many iodide ions should be there? 2. So this is the ionic equation for lead to iodide. Aqueous silver nitrate produce yellow precipitate with iodide and carbonate. When testing an unknown solution of iodide, aqueous silver nitrate is acidified. Explain why aqueous silver nitrate is acidified. Basically what happened? Aqueous silver nitrate produce yellow precipitate with both iodide and carbonate. So when testing the unknown solution of for iodide ion, why aqueous silver nitrate? We acidified aqueous silver nitrate. So basically what happened when you add an acid, if you have silver nitrate, you have carbonate salt mix, it will give yellow precipitate. Iodide salt you mix, yellow precipitate. So both are giving yellow precipitate. If you are testing for iodide ion, so first we convert this carbonate into nitrate. So the advantage, acid remove the carbonate ion, it will convert that into nitrate ion, and then we can carry out a simple test. Is it clear? Otherwise you will get a yellow precipitate for both silver carbonate and silver iodide, so it is difficult to distinguish. That's why first we convert them into nitrate, the carbonate one, it will convert into nitrate, and we carry out a test, so we'll get only yellow precipitate due to iodide ion. There is no reaction because basically the reaction is there for a carbonate ion. When you have a carbonate ion reacted with acid, any acid, HCl, HNO3, H2SO4, so what it will give? It will give a salt and it will give carbon dioxide. So the carbonate ion will turn and it release carbon dioxide. That's why we add this acid. With iodide, there is no reaction of iodide with acid. That's why it does not make any difference to this. Part of the structure of a synthetic polymer is shown. What type of synthetic polymer is this? Addition or condensation? When carbon-carbon link together, that will result in a formation of long chain compound we call addition polymer. Deduce the empirical formula. Monomer and polymer in addition polymers, they have the same empirical formula. So what is the empirical formula? It will be CH2. Empirical formula shows the simplest ratio. So the simplest ratio is 1:2. That's why it is CH2. Draw the structure of the monomer. So how to deduce the structure of the monomer? What you will do, just take two carbon atoms, the first two carbon atoms, and hide rest of them. And make a double bond. Between the two carbon atoms. So what it will become? It will become a monomer. The next part, the formula C4H10 represent two structural isomers. What is meant by the term structural isomers? Same formula but different structure. Same molecular formula but different structure. We call them as structural isomers. Compound with the same molecular formula or different structure, that's right. Draw two structural isomer of C4H10. I want everyone to use screen annotation to draw the two isomers. You can use any space available on the screen. So C4H10, yeah, 2-methyl propane and butane are the two isomers. So first make one as a straight chain and another one as a branch. But don't try to make a branch at the last. Like example, say first one you do straight, and sometimes student misunderstand that they make a branch, try to make a branch with the first one. That's totally wrong, because these two are the same structure. This is not the branch. So when you are drawing a branch, it should be with the second one. First one will be butane and second one will be 2-methyl propane. All structural isomers C4H10 are flammable. Write a chemical equation for incomplete combustion. The term incomplete combustion means when you are burning a hydrocarbon, what it releases carbon monoxide. So basically, if you have C4H10 and in the presence of oxygen but limited supply, it gives carbon monoxide and water. Now to balance this equation, to balance the combustion equation, we start with carbon followed by hydrogen and at the last other element. So here we have 4 carbon. So we will put 4, so carbon is balanced. Then hydrogen, 10 are there, so I will put 5, so hydrogen is balanced as well. But what about oxygen? We have 4 plus 5, 9 oxygen. So to make it 9 oxygen, what I have to write? I have to write 4.5. Whenever I have to write like decimal 4.5, 3.5, I'll multiply whole equation by 2. So what it will become? It will become 2C4 C4H10 plus 9O2 gives 8CO plus 10H2O. Incomplete combustion, it gives carbon monoxide and water. Complete combustion gives carbon dioxide and water. In complete combustion, there is a possibility that unburned carbon is there, but it does not mean like you will try to complete by carbon and carbon monoxide. No, one of them is there. Is it clear? Yeah, the same thing, 9 by 2, which is 4.5, and then I multiply whole equation by 2, so this will be the balance equation. The next part, dilute hydrochloric acid react with sodium carbonate. The chemical equation is there. (25 cm cube) portion of sodium carbonate was placed in a conical flask. Few drops of suitable indicator titrated with HCl of concentration 0.18. 20 cm cube of HCl was required to reach the end point. Calculate the concentration in mole per dm cube. Use the following steps. The number of moles of HCl used in the titration. So we know the concentration, we know the volume. So what is the formula to get the moles? So moles equal concentration multiplied by volume in dm cube. The concentration is equals to 0.18 and the volume 20 divided by 1000, so 0.02. What is the answer for this? 0.0036. Then number of moles of sodium carbonate, the ratio between HCl and sodium carbonate, that is 2:1. So if we have, this was HCl moles and this one is sodium carbonate, so 2:1. If we have 0.0036 moles, X moles will be there, cross multiply. So it will be 0.0018. Because it will 2:1 is the ratio, so it will become half of it. That's why 0.0018. And then calculate the concentration. Concentration is equals to moles of solute divided by volume of solution. Moles of sodium carbonate 0.0018 divided by volume. What is the volume of the solution? That's 25 cm cube. We should divide by 1000, 0.025. What is the final answer? 0.072. 0.072 mole per decimeter cube. Another experiment, the volume of the carbon dioxide produced was 48 cm cube. How many moles are there? So to get the moles of a gas, what is the formula? Moles equal volume in dm cube divided by 24. But here the volume is given in cm cube. So first we have to convert into dm cube. To convert cm cube into dm cube, we will divide by 1000. So 0.048. 0.048 divided by 24. Final answer is 0.002 moles of carbon dioxide. A sample of concentrated hydrobromic acid was electrolyzed using a platinum electrode. The concentration of hydrobromic acid is 8.89 mole per dm cube. We need gram. So basically what we have to do, we have to convert moles into gram. So how to convert? We have the formula moles equal mass in gram divided by molar mass. So we need a mass in gram, so that will be moles multiplied by molar mass. Moles are given 8.89 multiplied by molar mass of hydrobromic acid. HBr, bromine is there 80 and hydrogen is 1, so 80 plus 1, 81. When you multiply, what's the answer for concentration? 720 gram per dm cube. Explain why the concentrated hydrobromic acid conduct electricity. What is the reason for that? So 2 marks. because it contains free ions, mobile ions, and which can move. But you cannot write electron. It should be ions because it is a ionic compound, which just means a compound dissociate. Covalent compound is there HBr, but when it dissolves in water, it dissociates into ion. The bonding is covalent in H and Br. Magnesium is not a suitable material from which to make electrode. What is the reason why we cannot use a magnesium electrode for electrolysis? Because it is reactive metal, it is not inert. Reactive metals cannot be used, otherwise they will undergo reaction by itself with the electrolyte instead of due to electrolysis. Predict the product formed at anode when concentrated hydrobromic acid is electrolyzed. So when concentrated hydrobromic acid is electrolyzed, H is there, Br is there, and H is there, and OH. So because what happened, we have greater concentration of the bromide ion. That's why what we'll get bromine. Then write ionic half equation for reaction occur at positive electrode. So hydrogen ions are attracted towards the cathode, take 2 electron and change to hydrogen gas. So that's a reduction because they gain electron. Two minutes left, so we'll not be able to complete this question 7. I'll share another link and continue the discussion.